What's really important when you're looking at potential outdoor pigland is the slope. A slight slope's really desirable. Completely flat fields can have problems with standing water, and minimising the level of standing water is quite a management task. You can see the field we're in at the moment has got a gentle slope, which is about right for outdoor pigs. It's not too steep. It's also worth bearing in mind that the longer the slope, the more likely you are to have runoff. And bear in mind that every time a vehicle drives around the site and causes a wheeling, that's a potential route that water could follow. What we're looking at here is an onion crop on a loamy sand field that could potentially be used for outdoor pigs. And it's easy to see that there's been runoff down the tram lines. Wherever there's a vehicle wheeling between the onion beds, water and sediment have run down the field. This has happened to the extent at the far end of the field that you can see there's an area of standing water. So it's really important when you're looking at potential outdoor pigland that you take into account the source, the pathway and the receptor. And in this field it's really easy to see what's happened. The water has simply run down the tram lines and collected at the bottom of the field. This is a field currently growing an onion crop, and again you can see that there has been runoff down the tram lines, and there are a number of things that we can do in this field to try and minimise the effects of the surface runoff that the field has experienced. Adjacent to the field is a river floodplain, so this is a really important aspect to protect. It's important that you bear in mind that the floodplain in the case of this field is the ultimate receptor. So identifying both the source and the pathway of runoff is really important. How we deal with that runoff, there's a number of measures that we could install in this field in order to try and minimise any effects that the runoff could have. You can see that in the slope behind us that the farm has planted the steepest part of the field with maize for game cover, and it may well be that the best thing to do if pigs are going to come onto this field is to change that to a grass mixture, because that will far more efficiently filter out any sediment that's going to run to this end of the field. The other option we could take here to try and minimise the amount of runoff is to install a simple beetle bank across the field to prevent any surface water reaching this end. What's important, if you've identified a locally very high risk area, such as the one behind us, it's a steeply sloping piece of field, it's above a river floodplain, the really important thing is that you don't use an area like this for storage of materials or site traffic. The more vehicle usage that takes place in this part of the field, the more likely there is to be runoff, because water will follow the vehicle wheelings down the slope. And it's really important that when you're talking to a potential landlord, that he understands that you need 50 hectares of suitable land, not just two 25-hectare fields. What we can see here is an outdoor pig site that's set up with a long trough feeding system. And what this does is it avoids the use of a nut chucker, which simply throws the nuts over the fence and allows the pigs to forage over a bigger area. If you give pigs a large area to forage in for their food, eventually the paddock will suffer from subsurface compaction, which raises the risk of standing water gathering into the field. The second benefit that comes from using a long trough system is spatial defecation. Rather than pigs just dunging around the fence line, they tend to dung across the whole paddock area, which has got benefits for the following arable crop. What you can see behind me is an area of field that's been grassed down because basically it was too steep to stock. However, this does make it suitable for storage of materials, but you need to take into account factors like overhead power lines. In addition, this field has the potential to take surface water from the arable field opposite. Fortunately, there's a bank all the way along the edge of the arable field to prevent this happening.